Hi and welcome to this Retouching Academy Quick Tip video. My name's Daniel Meadows, and in this video we're going to take a quick look at clone stamp settings. If you're a photographer or retoucher who already uses a very hard, very small brush for cloning out blemishes, then congratulations buddy, you're doing fine. You can probably give this tip a miss. However, I do see all the time people using very low hardness, which means a very soft edge to a clone stamp. So if we were to remove, let's say, these hairs with a very large brush with a very soft edge, then it kind of looks okay. You know, maybe remove a couple of blemishes here. It's not too bad, okay? I mean, if this was for a web-sized image, if we were gonna put this up on a website in sRGB, it was never gonna see print, then we can kind of get away with that. But in a beauty shot, if this is gonna go to print, if you want high-end professional results, and that's where you're aiming with your retouching work, then you need to be using a much smaller, much more hard-edge brush. I'll explain why in just a moment. But if we just go back to the original state here and just demonstrate that if we use a very hard brush, let's say around 95, 96%, and make that very small brush, just could it be even smaller than that, just large enough to remove the problem that we're dealing with, and this is the level you should be cloning at for the best results. I'm going to demonstrate now why the soft edge is such a huge problem, because ta-da! I've created possibly the most realistic, scientifically accurate representation of the human skin you have ever seen in your entire life. You're welcome. The problem that we have with clone stamping, with those big soft edges and big brushes, is this. Let's just stick with this hard brush we've got here. It's still at 96%. So, okay, let's say we've got some little white hairs in the skin texture. Let's just imagine these are pores. You're just gonna have to use your imagination for me. So we want to clone out this pore here. So let's get rid of that pore. And we have no problems there. We've taken a good piece of source and we've then cloned it onto a problem area. Good source to problem area, problem solved, and no one would ever know that we were there. And that's our job as a retoucher, making sure that nobody could tell you've been there, nobody can see your brush strokes and clone marks or repeating patterns. This is the sort of thing we need to avoid. So if we're using a very low hardness, and this is where I'll show you what the problem is. If I just go back to that previous step, let's say I want to remove this pore again. So I'm just going to grab this little white hair here and just paint that out. You can see already that we've got problems because we're dragging little pieces of source texture, incomplete source texture, and it's just sitting there. And once in an image, that's the sort of thing you can get away with. However, across the entirety of an image, over and over again, dozens and dozens of those little clone marks, then you're going to get a softness, you're going to get a lack of sharpness and integrity from your skin texture. Just to demonstrate, if we were to grab another little bit of hair from there, just consider those white hairs, and I mean, this is the same size of brush I was using before as a hard brush, but you can see that we've now got problems. If we move that little white hair to this source point here, and I'm only painting out the problem, but because we've got such soft edges, we're dragging problems from beside our sample. So we're just dragging these all around the image where they aren't necessary, and over the course of an entire image, you are losing integrity, you are losing sharpness, and you are losing texture, and that is vital. You have to keep as much texture as is absolutely possible whenever you're doing a beauty shot or any kind of macro close-up portraiture. you don't want to be using a soft edge clone brush. Always remember to use a very, very small, very hard edged clone brush.